Friends, welcome to the J. Frank Norris Historical Society. This video that I'm about to make, some would say is an example of the sensational tactics in which J. Frank Norris was often, you might say, guilty of pursuing certain tactics if he thought he could draw a crowd. And while I read these two verses, which may not have a direct bearing upon what I'm about to say, be that as it may, there is some similarity. Matthew chapter 21, reading two verses. And when they drew nigh unto Jerusalem, and were come to Bethpage, unto the Mount of Olives, then sent Jesus two disciples, saying unto them, Go into the village over against you, and straightway ye shall find a donkey tied, and a colt with her. Loose them, and bring them unto me. Now I simply open this video to offer somewhat of a humorous story about which I'm about to tell you about. And I will entitle this video A Modern Balaam Story. Some would call it sensationalism, and perhaps it is. But it is a part of the J. Frank Norris legacy. So it seems that in the year of 1944, I believe it was, when this event occurred, two rodeo performers, Jack, and his nickname was Red, and Clara Thompson, were two world-famous rodeo performers. They had reached the peak of their careers, and now they had both reached the time in life when the glory days begin to fade, and when there is a tendency to think of the afterlife, which happens to most people at one time or the other. Much of the story of Red Thompson focuses on his last days in the hospital in Fort Worth, Texas, knowing that his days were numbered. Red, his nickname, and Clara had been nursing back to health a pony named Hog Eyes. With the heart of a real live cowboy, Red Thompson became so attached to Hog Eyes, the pony's well-being became the obsession of Red and his wife, Clara. As a prelude to the real story, Clara managed to sneak old Hog Eyes up back the elevator at the hospital, where she managed to escape the attention of the hospital personnel. When Red, at this point in time, who had lost his eyesight, but feeling the presence of old Hog Eyes, gave him a sense of a joyful reunion. Clara, ever so eager to see and to hear Red Thompson, make that all-important decision, she had now convinced Red to go into the baptismal waters and make a public commitment to Christ. J. Frank Norris heard from Clara and related to him all the details leading up to this occasion, which is the climax of this story. Norris agreed to the wishes of Red Thompson and Clara. But just before the actual immersion of Red took place in the baptismal waters, he screamed out, Hog Eyes, where are you? Norris at this point nodded toward the door where Hog Eyes was waiting with his handlers. Whether or not Hog Eyes was led into the baptismal waters is not clear at this moment. But one eyewitness, Louise Oldham, is one still living witness to this event. in 1944. Norris then asked the all-important question, stating, "Jack Thompson, do you now trust in the Lord Jesus Christ for your only salvation?" To which Red Thompson replied, "I do." 1 week later, Red Thompson left this life and entered the glories of heaven. The concluding remarks by Norris were, "It isn't every day that you find yourself performing a baptism with a horse as witness in the pool alongside you." The conclusion of the story is this: the crowd, the jubilant crowd, soon dispersed, singing, "Shall we gather at the river?" And friends, one day, that'll be the culmination, a fulfillment of the expectation that every Christian has. When this life ends, it's either heaven or hell. And so, my appeal is to each one who's never made that decision, that like Red Thompson, you will say, "I do." May God bless each one. God bless the United States of America.